like our clousers and stuff we fish for those things, we can usually keep it around a 4. 2 at the biggest for some of the hybrids, and all the way down to an 8 on the white bass. So I'll use that GSP thread again.
Let me cut this out. Not bad.
Lay it down. So that tail on those is this body wrap. It's that Blaine Chocolates body wrap. It's what you build the big game changers out of. You don't need very much. Like probably need half of what I just cut off. And then what you do is, like, same thing if you're building a game changer, you know, the profile is big to small towards the tail. So when you cut this stuff, you cut off, what you cut off back here isn't waste, it's what you start the back of the fly with to get your taper. So you could save that if you cut off a bigger strip, and that would be the back half of your game changer. So you only need a little bit of this for the tail. Get it right there, probably. So about that much. And what this stuff has got is secured back here by the string or whatever. You can either tie it in and wrap it, or just fold it over. I think folding it over is the easiest way. Fold it over and then secure it down. Maybe. And that first securement's kind of hard sometimes. There. By folding it over, it keeps the fibers on both sides of the hook. So when you make that tail solid, it comes out the back and keeps it a little bit cleaner. So I'll just secure it down. Then pretty much the rest of the fly is the same as the olive stuff we used on the body of the frog, but white. It's that same chenille though.
So, Luke, did you cut that hem thing off on it?
I did. So, here, that's the bottom half. Oh,
Whoops.
and this is the top half.
So you cut it out of the middle.
So cut it down the middle, and then it gives you 2 pieces to work with.
Does that hemmed edge have any beneficial use, or just holds the fiber the same?
Holds it in place, because like if you're doing one of those game changers, one of the big game changers, you're wrapping it, the whole thing, so that keeps it together while you're wrapping it. For this, not really. It's just something to tie it down on. Alright, so the chenille. We wrap it the same way as with that frog. With that, with this GSP, you got to kind of crank it down because stuff kind of wants to slide with it. So you got to make some pretty tight wraps. And we'll just get the thread all the way up to the eye here. I'll lay down just a little bit of thread for that stuff to kind of stick to. All right. And then you're pulling those fibers back as you go. So you kind of prevents from trapping a bunch of those. It's easier to sweep them back if you do it from the beginning than trying to do it after you laid the next wrap down. Alright. We'll tie that off right here. You don't want to crowd the eye on these because when you put that shank on the next section, if you get too much stuff around the eye, it doesn't let that back hook swing and move like it should. Because really, as far as B10S hooks go, a 4 is about the smallest I've found that still works well with these. Some of the 6s do, but you got to test it before you do it, because sometimes the back end of that shank will not want to slide through the eye on a 6. 4 is pretty much always safe. I haven't ran into a problem with them not working, but there's a couple flies I like doing 6s, and one pack of B10S fit just fine and the other pack did not, and it sucks because you just tied a fly on the back and then now you can't attach it to anything. Alright, we'll whip this off here. That hook got me, Ned, when I was getting you that chenille.
First time ever, huh?
No, not the first time.
That's a really nice place to get it too, and
Yeah.
it stays with you.
The sad part is he's associating your name with it.
Yeah, that was your fault, Ned.
I've been married a couple of times.
Oh.
3 or 4. It shouldn't be a problem. It was like water on a duck's back.
Yeah.
I took it as a compliment.
The back half, I typically taper. These scissors might not get it done. We'll see. It works way better with those craft scissors, but tapering it towards the back, so smaller towards the back.
What do you mean by craft scissors? And what do you-
Like ones from Walmart you would use at school, like you buy your kids for school.
You mean the dull ass things?
Yeah, they cut this kind of stuff and this kind of stuff way better.
Really?
If you tried to shape a game changer with that, with these, no, not even close. It cuts them way better. I don't know why, it just does. All right. You don't have to get crazy with it like I'll tie a full game changer and it takes me twice as long to trim it as it does to tie it. It's almost like doing deer hair, but like with these, it's just, you just kind of want a little bit of a taper. You don't need to get crazy with it. And a lot of times I'll cut the sides, pinch it, and then just cut down the sides too. Because minnows aren't shaped like that. They're, flat on the sides. All right. Now I'll get some of these hairs out of here, and you gotta be careful doing that too. You get too close to that, you fringe that whole piece right there. Gotta mess with that. I think I need some new batteries. This thing eats through the batteries.
Get that new rechargeable one.
I know, I saw that. Doesn't it plug into like a USB? Yeah. You see some of those guys
Can't have too many.
use the dental ones. Have you seen any of those tiring
They
videos
just start smoking.
where they pull out and it's like the tube one with the shield on it, and they're like hit it for like half a second and it's cured. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
One of our friends from Chanute sold his dental practice, but he took that stuff with him.
Yeah. All right. So that tail, to get it hard and get it shaped like you want it, I used that same stuff we coated the frog with, that Loon Soft. So we'll flip it this way in the vise, kind of get this tail evened up. I think I need to get this on this side. All right. just like that, and then we're painting this stuff on. You need quite a bit of it, actually. You want it to get even to the middle fibers. And then you have to use your fingers. You have to get a little bit dirty with this stuff. It peels off pretty good. It might take a day. But if you get up in here, it's easier to start up by the back of these fibers and then just sweep it through this stuff.
Do you have a paper towel?
I'll just rub my fingers together here in a second. So you can fan that tail as much as you want if you want a wider tail or whatever you're trying to mimic here. I like that split tail on them, so leave it like that and just kind of make sure it's going down even down the middle. It's not pulled off to one side, so that takes a second to dry. You'll have like a rubber coating on your fingers, and if you catch the end, you can peel it all the way off. Alright. So while that's kind of drying, I'll get this stuff out. I guess I need that for... So the same thing like with those frogs, if I'm doing these, I'll make a bunch of back halves and let them hang, and then work backwards. Do the first one I did down the line. These are 25 millimeter game shanks, and that's the front half of this. Pop it in, and then we can get this out of the vise and get the shank in. This GSP works way better, like on the game changers and this kind of stuff. This edge that you have to close off on these shanks will cut your thread in a second. So I've even had it fray some of the GSP stuff, but like UTC 140, it's kind of annoying. You'll lay it down and then I'll cut your thread, and then up here at the eye, it's not closed completely off like a hook, so you catch it on that edge too. It'll cut your thread pretty quick. Lay down a little bit of thread and then close off that gap. The other thing that works well, like it's not so much on this pattern, but like if you're using this for game changers, you want to get your thread as close to that eye as you can, so you kind of have that seamless body, and you don't see every connection, so it kind of all blends together. With this one, it's not as important, but one thing that helps is if you put just a dot of glue up here. With this GSP being slick and that kind of being at an angle going down, your thread wants to slide down it every time. So that glue really helps kind of keep it from sliding on you.
What size GSP do you like? Is that the 100?
This is the 100. Alright. So I don't need to make it go all the way up that ramp with this one, but like on a game changer I would. You wouldn't think a millimeter of a difference would make that much of a difference, but like on those game changers, when you're trying to make that seamless body, it does make a huge difference. So more of that chenille here. Get it on the side. Wrap it all the way back. That glue kind of helps lock it down too. I'll get this thread up front. You don't need that much real estate on the front to put that head on, so we'll wrap the chenille pretty close to the front. This one's gonna be scented, but like a bleeding minnow. I'm trying to
Yeah.
keep the fibers out of the blood here. I usually don't get too many battle wounds from fly tying. Fishing, I've had a few. Alright, that's probably good. I haven't hooked myself yet. I've hooked Zach Jansen that used to work here. I got him one time with a musky fly. Pretty good too. It was right in the back of the head.
Did you land him? Did you have to use a net? That's good for Zach, really.
Yeah, it was. He was scared, but the barb wasn't anywhere close. But he's lucky I didn't. I kind of dropped the line in the back cast, so I didn't get a good double haul. If I would have had that speed going, it might have got the barb. I've got myself putting them on, tying them on. Though, you really got to cinch you down with that wire. Slid off the back and had a 3-aught go all the way through the barb. You could feel it up in here.
On one of Kevin's saltwater trips, he got put a great big 4-aught in his back. Lucky that was a doctor on it.
Yeah.
Man.
So those are the gills.
Yeah, and this is just bait fish emulator or something like that, chenille. You can use anything. I didn't have any of the just like medium polar chenille. Anything you could wrap if you wanted. I'll just use the tips of this and kind of lay it down. This is a different color combo. This is kind of that traditional plug with the white body and the red head. So we'll wrap that back and kind of move them around. Kind of made a mess here. I've been coating the heads. I've been using that soft stuff on everything, but I've been coating these tubing heads with it as well. So wrap it back here. If that stuff starts to slide, if you twist it clockwise, it tightens it up and you can kind of get it to lay down a little bit better without sliding. It's probably good. Alright. So this is the body tubing. It's the 1/4 inch. This stuff takes a minute to get used to tying with, but it's not too hard. You want to fringe it. If not, when you go to do it, it just comes unraveled. So this end I already cut, so we'll keep it from fraying on us. I don't know exactly how much you need for the head, but it's about that much. Same thing if you're doing those. I don't know if he's got any of my musky flies hanging anymore, but it's same thing if you're doing like those musky flies, the T-bones where you're using it. It's about that much. Maybe just a little bit less. So I'm not going to fringe this one until we get it on the fly. And this goes on all the way to the back. You can wrap your thread, and you've got to crank this stuff down pretty good here.
It's all on top of the head.
Yeah.
Or the shank.
Yep. They make Wopsy or somebody makes something kind of similar, but it's softer. This stuff's a lot harder. So when you hit the front with the lighter, you got to go quick. Hit it, and then when it's hot, still push it back, and then that opens it up. If not, it's going to keep it tight. The way like Blaine Chocolate does it in his videos is folds this over and pushes it all the way back. I don't know. I've had a problem when you flip it all the way over back, it gets it wide and it'll catch fibers and they'll get trapped when you pull it over. So I think the easiest, if you grab it in the middle and push it over and then reach around and flip it back over inside itself here, like that. And then you're going to tie this section down right on top. You want it pretty snug. You finish the fly right here.
And it covers itself up, so you cover up your work.
Yeah, exactly. I think my razor blade's getting dull. Then I'll put some glue on this here. Just kind of all the way around it. You want to crank it down pretty tight when you're doing it. That's why the GSP is pretty helpful, because what happens is sometimes it will spin on you if you don't get it cinched down. So then all you do is push it over and fold it back over on top of itself. And then now you've got your head. Eyes. I use the 6mm. 5 would probably work a little bit better. Since that thing's rounded, with the 5, I think you'd have a little bit more connection on the sides. Well, before I do that, we'll trim this tail. It's probably dry enough. So I'll trim it off flat in the back, pretty flat. And then if you come in at the angles on the sides and cut back in towards the middle here. And then you kind of get that tail.
Saltwater tail.
Yeah, I'll round them off too sometimes. Yeah. But once that dries, it's pretty hard stuff. All right, eyes. The other thing, I won't today, but I like coating the whole head in that loon. It helps keep those eyes on. It doesn't. The eyes are kind of hard to get on at first, because they'll really slide around on that plastic stuff. So I'll put a pretty big drop on the back side and line it up. Instead of trying to really push it in where I want it, I'll just kind of tap it into place, and then what I'll do, I'll let it sit and I'll let it dry for quite a while, and then I'll coat that whole head in this just to help keep those eyes on. I know some guys will get the UV stuff and put a huge drop on it and let it kind of seep over the sides of the eyes and then hit it too. If you gotta let that glue set up before you really mess with it, but basically it's like a little Rapala. This one's been coated, and you can kind of, here, I'll pass it around that way, but that one's coated and colored on top. That one's more like a shad color. I've been doing some all chartreuse ones. I did a couple with the black body, red gills, and a purple head. Those fish good. Trying to think what other color combo. I kind of like that one with the red head. The kind of looks like your classic Rapala or plug or whatever.
You start putting treble hooks on them,
I
man.
know.
Yeah.
Those are beautiful, Lou. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
They are nice. Luke, the first one you passed around, it's just like it. Is it back over there?
The white one?
Yes.
It's going around.
Now, Luke, how long did it take you to perfect that roll it over procedure? How many
On the-
experiments did you have?
On the heads.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it takes a little bit. Once, because what happens if you make it too long and then fold it over, it cones back and it goes way back over your material. And then if you do it not enough, you don't get the sides for the eyes to attach to, so it's kind of just sticks out. So once you get the length down, it's pretty easy to work with. But I think the key to getting it rolling over is if you just grab it and push it over halfway, like in those videos of the musky flies, that Blaine guy's shoving the whole thing back over the material and then pulling it back forward. And when I was doing that with deer hair on those big musky flies, I was pulling all that deer hair back over, and then I was trying to like pluck it out of the gap. So I think pinching it and turning it in on inside itself is the easiest way to do it.
Luke, on this one, how did you do the gray? Did you do it with a marker or did you spray it?
Marker. I didn't spray that one.
Just
Yeah.
So have you tried anything else other than that soft head? Like any fabric, paint, or glue, or that kind of stuff?
I did use, well, not on the foam, but on those minnows. There's a pattern with that kind of head, a musky fly, and I'll use that tulip. It works pretty good. It was like tulip diamond something. Smear it on and then it
That's
dries.
like fabric glue.
Yeah,
It makes it a little harder, but it's still
yeah,
pliable.
right. And that's why, since that's pliable, that's why it's good on that foam. That when you get that shell on there, I know, like, I think those guys that do like those really fancy poppers with like the wood, they use a lacquer, but I don't think it would work that good on the foam. Because what happen, that foam will flex, or you start getting fish that hit it and stuff. That foam gives a little bit, and that shell just starts cracking, and the next thing you know, the whole thing peeled off.
Lacquer might dissolve the foam itself anyway.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When you're using that braided material, it reminded me of
It's the crinker winker style. Yeah, that's. I think the treble hook is